Hi everyone! Welcome to Xcoding with Alvian. In this video, we're going to add Markdown rendering and code syntax highlighting support to the ChatGPT SwiftUI app that we have built in the previous video tutorials. Markdown is a markup language that can be used to add formatting elements to the plain text documents. It was created by John Gruber back then at 2004. By the end of this tutorial, our ChatGPT app should be able to render Markdown elements such as heading, paragraph, list, link, quote, CodeBlock, and so many more. We're basically going to parse the raw string from the ChatGPT API response to the Swift attributed text. And we're going to render using SwiftUI native views and Swift attributed string. So no web view will be used. So that's it for the short introduction of what we'll build, and without further ado, let's begin and start coding. Okay, so first I want to show you the starter project which you can use to begin. So go to this repository, ChatGPT SwiftUI. I provided that in the description below, the link. And then select this tag, Markdown-code-highlight-ios-starter. Okay, and then you can simply select HTTPS and then download zip in here. Okay, and this will be the starter project for this video. Okay, and next one, we need to also add several dependencies which will help us to analyze Markdown and also render syntax highlighting. Okay, so the first one is this Apple Swift Markdown SPM library. So this is basically a Swift package for parsing, building, editing, and analyzing Markdown documents. This is an official library provided by Apple repository. Okay, and the parser is powered by GitHub flavored Markdown CMark GFM implementation, right? So it follows the spec closely. Okay, and the next one is this Smithyton highlighter Swift. So this is basically a library that provides a Swift wrapper for the popular highlight.js code highlighting utility. Okay, so it interacts with the highlight.js using the JavaScript core framework provided by the Apple for iOS, macOS, and tvOS. Okay, but actually for this Smithyton highlighter Swift, I create a fork because in the next video we are going to also add support for the tvOS, right? So with the original repository SPM, it's not able to build successfully when building for tvOS, but I made a simple change basically to fix this issue, right? So we are going to use this fork version in here. So it's able to support tvOS as well. Okay, and the next one is this Markdownosaur by Christian Selig. So basically this is a SPM package that uses the Swift Markdown library to basically convert the detected Markdown, whether it's a code block, headline, links, list, or anything else, to the NS attributed string. Okay, but actually we are not going to depend on this package, but we are going to just copy and paste the code to make some adjustment, right, for the syntax highlighting. Okay, so kudos to all of this open source project. Okay, now let's begin by adding the SPM dependencies to our project for this Swift Markdown. So this is the project that I have downloaded, the starter project. So we can simply go to this project settings and then select this project. Okay, and then select the package dependencies and click add. And you can basically copy and paste the Apple Swift Markdown SPM, paste it in here. Okay, I have provided all the links in the description for you to check. Okay, and basically enter. So I'm going to select actually the main branch for this. Then simply click add package to edit. It's going to fetch the main branch, the version, and then let's add the package to the XCAChatGPT. It will add to the iOS target for this video. Okay, and the next one, let's add another L. Let's add another. So here I'm going to use the fork version of the highlighter Swift. Okay, just put it here, and then yeah, we can use the main branch. Okay, add, and then add to the XCAChatGPT as target. Okay, so those are the two SPM dependencies, external dependencies that we have added. Next, click this shared folder and then create a new Swift file. Give it a name of markdown attributed string parser. And for the target, just uncheck the other platform targets. And because for this video, we're going to only support the iOS target. We're going to add support for the other platform targets in the next one. Okay, so create it. So markdown attributed string parser. Okay, and basically in this folder we are going to copy this code from Christian Selig. Okay, so this is the file markdownosaur.swift. Okay, let me just click the raw one and then select all, copy, and then I'm going to paste in here. Okay, and one thing that I want to make sure, I want to add the link to the original author based on the source code from Christian Selig. Okay, because we are copying and pasting his code, right? We should give a proper attribution and then provide the original link to the original code. Okay, so that is the original link. Yeah, looks good. So this is basically the Markdownosaur, which depends on this markup visitor protocol. So if you see in here, it imports this markdown library, right? So this is the Apple markdown library, and it provides this markup visitor, right? This is a protocol which basically using a feature sort pattern, it will be able, so given a document of string, right, markdown string, is able to using a feature pattern to detect the whether it's a block quote, whether it's a code block, custom block, heading, thematic, HTML, list item, and everything else, right, that is there in the markdown documents, right? And basically it uses a generate protocol, right, associated type. So this type of results we need to define this, right? And if you see in here in the markdown source, the result itself is an attributed string, right? So basically it will convert the result, it will convert the markup document to the NS attributed string, right? So let's see one example, right? So let me show you the code block, right? Yeah, so this is the code where the Apple Markdown detects that document, this piece of text is a code block, right? And basically in here, it initializes an NS mutable attributed string, passing the string, the code, right? And then it applies custom attributes such as font. It's using a monospace font, right, with this size, and also set the foreground color to system gray, right? So it provides us flexibility to customize what we want to display, right, in the attributed string, given this detected string, right, whether this is inline, straight to, or anything, right? And basically what we want to do later is to apply the highlighting inside this code block, right? So it's able to provide the syntax highlighting properly using that highlighter Swift framework. Okay, so that's the idea between these Markdownosaurs, right? And one thing, let's change the name, right? Let's use the Markdown attributed string parser. Okay, let me try to build, making sure there are no issues. Okay, the build succeeded. And one thing, right, in the scheme, make sure to change this to XCAChatGPT, right, to detect where the project build succeeded, because it's this markdown attributed string parsers only target the iOS target, which is XCAChatGPT. Okay, the build succeeded. So as we're going to display each code block in a content or scroll view with horizontal axis, let's declare a model to represent the parser result. So we are not going to use NS attributed string directly. We're going to create an abstraction, right? And then we're going to put the SwiftUI attributed string in there. Okay, let's do it. Inside the shared folder, create a new Swift file. Give it a name of parser result. And then for the targets, just select all the other platform targets, XCAChatGPT, XCAChatGPT Mac, and this watch app, the one with the circle icon, and the XCAChatGPT TV. Because this model will be used in the MessageRow view, which currently all the other platform targets depends, right? So if we don't include all of this, it will create an issue later when we want to build. Okay. So yeah, let's declare a struct, give it a name of parser result. Okay, and then make it conform to identifiable protocol. So it will make our life easier. We want to use it in the SwiftUI later. And then let's just assign an DUID as a default value for the identifiable. And next one, let's declare let attributed string. And in this here, we're going to use the attributed string. So this is the Swift attributed string, not the foundation NS attributed string, right? And basically, this Swift attributed string can be used to render text in the SwiftUI. Okay. Next one is a flag to determine whether this is a code block or not, right? So it's going to be a type of Boolean, and let's also add code block language, right? Which is the optional string. So this will show the language of the detected code block, right? It is optional because sometimes it is not able to detect the language, right? There might be a case where the language is not supported by the highlighter.js is being rendered, right? So this is an optional. So that's the parser result. Next, let's go back to the markdown attributed string parser. So in the parser, we need to declare a method that accepts a document, right? And then returns an array of parser result. It is an array because we're going to put each code block in a single parser result. This will handle the situation where there are paragraphs between multiple code blocks, right? So here, below this attributed string from document method, just declare another method, func, and then give it a name of parser results from document. Okay, the type is document, and the return type is an array of parser result. Okay, so given a document, it will return an array of parser result, and inside for each of the parser result, there will be an attributed string. Okay, first let's declare an array var results with the type of parser result. Initialize it, and then let's create a variable current attributed string with the type of ns mutable attributed string. Okay, so we will use this to track the current appended string. Okay, let's create a inner method. Okay, so a method inside this method, give a name append current attributed string. In here, we're going just to check if not current attributed string dot string, right, is empty. In that case, we are going to declare a let current attributed string to append. Okay, declare a parenthesis, then inside the parenthesis declare a try optional, initialize attributed string. Okay, and then pass the current attributed string. So this current attribute string is an NS attributed string, right? And there's an initializer that we can use to initialize an attribute Swift attribute string using the foundation NS attribute string. Okay, but in this case we have to make sure to use this including, and we're going to pass UI kit. Okay, so I think this probably related to the how it will be rendered, right? In this case we want it to be rendered based on the UI kit. And in case it is null, let's provide a default value of attributed string, and then let's just pass string read. Let's just use the string literal. Okay, and then just pass the current attribute string dot string. Okay, this is just in case this fails, right? We're just going to initialize it with the raw string. Okay, so the NS attribute string actually expose this raw string, right? Property. Okay, so that's the attribute Swift attribute string that we have declared. Now we can simply append that to the array. Okay, but in this case we're going to initialize a parser result, right? Because this is an array of parser result. We're going to initialize it with the current attribute string to append, and in the is CodeBlock we're going to pass false, and in the CodeBlock language it's going to be nil. Okay, you will understand later on why we have this method. Okay, now let's continue in here. So basically what we can do now, we have the document, we can access the children inside this markdown string, and then trigger for each. Okay, give it a name of markup in the closure, and inside this markup, right, we need to convert this to the attribute string, which we can do by invoking visit. Okay, and passing the markup. So this will basically handle the conversion to the attribute string. Cannot use mutating member on immutable value. Okay, so we need to declare this as mutating because it changed something inside this markup visitor. Okay, so now we have converted the children to the attribute string. So this can be anything. It can be CodeBlock, it can be heading or anything, right? But in this case, I want to add special check if this, right, can be casted. This markup itself can be casted as the CodeBlock, right? It means that this attribute string is the CodeBlock, right? In that case, inside the if, I'm going to invoke this append current attribute string. So in case there are previous attribute string that being appended, it's going to just append that to the array, right? And basically in here, right, in this else, I'm going to just invoke current attribute string append the attribute string. But in case of CodeBlock, right, I want to reset this current attribute string with empty and as multiple attribute string, right? So basically when we receive the document, let's say we have paragraphs as the first document, it's going to just append it, right? Append this, and let's say after the paragraph there's a CodeBlock, right? In this case, it's able to detect this is a CodeBlock. Then basically it just means that, hey, the first paragraph that appended to the parser result, right? And then here I'm going to process this CodeBlock. After that, I'm going to reset this. Okay, so let's process this as a CodeBlock, convert this to parser result, and then append it to the results array. Okay, let's just declare wrap attributed string to append. Basically we can just copy this let, okay, this let inside here, but make sure we change this to attributed string, right? Don't use the current attribute string, otherwise it will fail, right? Use this attribute string from this let. Okay, attribute string dot string, this is the attribute string. Okay, this should be good to go. Then next we're going to invoke results dot append in it, passing the current. So let me change this actually, right? The naming at the tr string to append. Okay, attr string to append, okay, for better clarity. And then is CodeBlock. For sure this is a CodeBlock because this markup can be casted as CodeBlock. Okay, let's pass through. And for the CodeBlock language, we can simply pass CodeBlock.language. Okay, and yeah, we have reset this current attribute string to the empty mutable attribute string. Okay, so after we loop all of this, there's a possibility that this current attribute string has a value that we need to append. So that's why we need to invoke this append current attribute string again. Okay, so it will check if this is not empty, it's going to append the remaining one. Okay, so that's it. Now let's just return the results build. Okay, the build succeeded. Okay, so yeah, we have implemented this parser results from document to basically convert the markdown document to an array of parser results. Okay, later you will get a better understanding when we implement this in the SwiftUI view. Next, now we can move on to implement the CodeBlock SwiftUI view. So in this shared folder again, create a new SwiftUI view. And in this case, give it a name of CodeBlock view. But make sure to uncheck all the other platform targets. And make sure only XCAChatGPT iOS target is selected. Okay, the first one. Then create the file. Basically, let's deal with the preview first. I want to add some stuffs in here. And let's import Markdown first. Okay. And in this CodeBlock view, let's declare a let parser result, right? We're going to inject this parser result. This parser result itself will be a CodeBlock, right? Okay. So obviously it's give an error. It will give an error in the preview because we need to pass that. Let's handle that now. Create a stubs. Declare a static var. Okay, markdown string. Okay, I'm going to use a Swift multi-line string literal. Okay, just like this. And I'm going to copy and paste the raw string. Okay, so basically given the markdown syntax, right? The markdown syntax standard, if you want to have a code block, you will have this triple tick, right? Just like this in between, right? So here, starting from here, and then usually it will have the name of the programming language, in this case Swift, and then this is the code block for the Swift, and then we're crossing this again using this triple tick. Okay, so you can copy and paste this. So basically if you want, you can just go to any project that you want, right? For example, I got it from this ChatGPT Swift library SPM package, and then select the readme in here. What you can do is you can click in this row, and then it will basically give you the string that you can copy, right? For example, you can copy this and then paste this in here. Okay, as simple as that to get the markdown raw string. Okay, so I have that stop markdown raw string. Next one is I want to declare a static let parser result, right? With the type of parser result, right? And then I'm going to initialize it with a closure in here. So basically, let's declare a document, and let's initialize a document. So that's why I import markdown, right? Because markdown type itself comes from the Apple markdown library. I'm going to use this parsing. In here, we can parse the string, actually, that markdown string. Okay, we got the document, markdown document. And next one, we are going to declare parser, which is the markdown attributed string parser. We need to declare it as var, otherwise it will fail to parse the document into the parser results, right? Because it's using the mutable func that we have declared before, mutating func. And basically in here, we can invoke parser dot parser results from parsing the document. So this returns an array, but we are very confident this will just return a single array, right? So that's, we can just use the first element, which is will be the parser result with the type of code block. And then in here, the preview, we can simply pass the stubborn parser result. Okay, we have the stub data. Now let's move on to implement the body. Okay, so inside the body, first declare a VStack with the alignment of leading. Okay, and let's build so the preview can be rendered properly. Click this refresh. Okay, there we have the preview rendered. Okay, so let's begin by declaring a var in here for the header. So basically we will having the header containing the programming language tags and the button to copy and paste. Okay, var header sum view. And in the header, let's declare an h tag. I'm going to declare this header inside this VStack as well. I'm going to add several modifiers as well in here. At the horizontal padding and the vertical padding with 8 as the value. And I'm going to also apply a background color to the header. Parsing color of RGB. For the red, I'm going to use 9/2255. For the green, it's going to be 49/255, and for the blue, it's going to be 69/255. Okay, this is the background color for the header. Okay, we have this h tag, and also for the fish tag in the body, right? I'm going to also add several modifier before I forgot. For the background, I'm going to declare an enum in here, highlighter constants, right? And I'm going to declare a static let color and just declare a SwiftUI RGB as well in here. So why I declare this as an enum? But because actually later we are going to use this static let color in other places, but that will be actually in the next video, okay, when we build for the multi-platform. Okay, for the red, let's just declare 38/255. For the blue, 38/255. And for the green as well, 38/255. Sorry, this should be 255, not 355. Yeah. Okay, that will be the background for our code block. In here, we can pass highlighter constants dot color. And basically in here, we're going to also set the corner radius to 8. Okay. There you go. We have this VStack. Let me verify everything is correct. 38. Okay. Now let's continue implementing the header. So here we have the VStack. Let's then declare if let CodeBlock language. We're going to unwrap this from the parser result.CodeBlock language property. In that case, we're going to render the text passing the CodeBlock language.capitalize. And yeah, let's render the font as headline and then monospaced, and then set the foreground color to white. Okay, there it is. And then after this CodeBlock language, I'm going to add a spacer for the copy button. Okay, so I'm going to put the button inside a var as well. And for the button itself, we need additional state. Okay, so let's declare a state var is copied. Okay, default value is false. So when the user tap on the copy button, we're going to show an indicator whether that the text is copied successfully to the clipboard, right? And then after that, we're going to reset the button again, just like the interaction that you have when you want to copy and paste code from the GitHub code block. Okay, so inside this button, we're going to check if is copied, true, and else. There will be a different condition. But to make this successfully built, we need to use view builder annotation at the top. Okay, so let's first handle the else block. This is the button that we're going to show. Let's use this button action label initializer. So for the label, let's use image with the system name of doc.onDoc. Okay, and let's set the foreground color to white. Okay, and here just declare this h below this spacer inside the h tag header, declare the button. Okay, this rendered there. So inside this button, we need to provide an action inside this closure, which will copy to the system clipboard. Let string, we can use this ns attributed string, passing the parser result attributed string. Remember that the parser result inside the attributed string inside the parser result is a type of Swift attributed string, not the foundation one. Okay, and the attributed string from Swift, it doesn't have the string raw string property. So let's convert that to the ns attributed string to get the raw string. And basically here we can simply invoke UI pasteboard general the string, and then assign this with the string. So this will copy the string to this clipboard, system clipboard, which you can pass in any other app. Okay, and then we're going to trigger an explicit SwiftUI animation. With animation, I'm going to change the isCopied to true. Okay, and I'm going to add additional dispatch queue main async after. Okay, so after 2 seconds, right, I'm going to basically reset the state to false, the isCopied for state, using also an explicit animation. In this case, set the isCopied to false. Okay, after 2 seconds. Okay, we have this. Next, inside the, let's try to build. What's the error in here? Okay, build succeeded. Let's refresh the preview. So in the isCopied, let's declare an h tag. In this case, let's declare the text, then provide a value of copied, set the foreground color as white, and set the font as sub headline, monospaced, bold. And after that, let's declare an image, passing the SF symbol of checkmark.circle.fill. Okay, and set the image scale to large, and set the symbol rendering mode to multicolor. Okay, and let's also set this h-tag frame alignment to trailing. Okay, to test this, basically we can use this interaction button, right? This live interaction, click this, and then just click this. As you can see, after 2 seconds, it will just remove that and show the original button. Nice, right? Okay, that's the header for the CodeBlock view. Now let's continue, right? We have the header containing the C programming language text and the button. Now below this header, let's declare a scroll view, right? So as you know that the code itself can be a bit long, right, within a horizontal line. So we should make the scroll view to be horizontally scrollable. So let's pass the axis as horizontal. Okay, and then in here we are going to also pass source indicator as true. Okay, so yeah, we have this now. Inside here, we're going to declare a text, passing the parser result.attributed string. Nice, there is our code block. I think we need to add some adjustment. First one, let's add a padding with the horizontal edges of 16. Yeah, looks good. And then let's also add a text selection enabled. Okay, with this, people can hold on the text and it will show the context menu to copy or maybe share the text. Okay, there we go. We have this code block rendered in here, but currently, as you can see, it's not highlighting the syntax, right? There are no colors basically in here, right? It's just a system background gray foreground color for the font. So next, let's add the capability for highlighting the syntax, what we can do is just basically go to this markdown attributed string parser again. Okay, now let's import highlighter in here. So this is the highlighter Swift, and want to make some additional adjustment also in here. So for the base font size, let's update this to get UI font, preferred font for text style. Let's pass body and get the point size. Okay, so now let's also declare a let highlighter in here. Declare this as a closure, and in here let's just initialize highlighter. Okay, initialize that and then return highlighter. But actually highlighter provides several customization options that we can use. Highlighter, we can invoke this set theme, so we can pass the string to see all the, if you go to this highlighter, right, and access the sources, you can see inside this assets, right, styles, there are many theme that we can use, right? So actually you can check the highlighter.js website to check the theme that you want to use. Okay, so this is the string that we need to pass as the theme when we initialize the highlighter. So in this case, I'm just going to use Stack Overflow dark theme. Okay, so that's it. We have this Stack Overflow dark. Next one is we have the highlighter get initialized as a property there. Now navigate to the visit CodeBlock. Let's search visit CodeBlock. Okay, this one, right? So basically in here, let's replace this result by invoking ns mutable attributed string, and then in here we are going to use this attributed string parameter, the initializer, and then we're going to invoke highlighter.highlight. Actually this highlighter is not going to be optional, so let's just put the explicit type to be highlighter and then first unwrap this. Okay, so we got that, and basically now we can simply invoke CodeBlock.code, and there's also a optional parameter that we can pass CodeBlock.language. So this S will be the programming language here, which this is also actually optional, but we can pass it. Okay, so this will return an optional attributed string. So in this case, in case it fails, we can simply just initialize an attributed string, passing the string literal of CodeBlock.code. Okay, let's try to build. The build failed. Okay, let's just set this, set theme. Okay, now the build succeeded. Let's go back to the CodeBlock view and see the results. Nice, as you can see, it is able to provide the syntax highlighting for the Swift programming language. This is amazing. Can also copy the code in here using this button, and we can hold this to show the context menu where we can copy or share. Okay, so that's it. We have implemented the CodeBlock view using with the syntax highlighting support as well. So currently we are using this MessageRow view to render the prompt and the response text. As you can see here, we use this MessageRow struct model. So here it provides this send prompt text and this response text, right? And now we are going to basically update this model so it has options to render the parsed result with attribute string as well. So what we can do is inside this MessageRow file, let's declare another struct given the name of attributed output, and then we have this value of string, let string with the type of string, and results with the type of parser result array. Okay, and the string represents the original markdown string, while the results represents the parser results array, which we'll get from the markdown attributed parser later. Next, below this, let's declare an enum, give it a name of MessageRow type. Okay, so we will have two cases. First one is attributed. In this case, we have one associated value, which is the attributed output, and the next one we have the raw text, and with associated value of string. And inside this enum, I'm going to declare a computed property text, and then I'm going to declare switch self. Okay, so here for the attributed, grab the associated value and then just return attributed output dot string, and in the raw text we can simply return the string. Okay, so this will be used later when we want to use the onChange modifier in the scroll view, so it can trigger scroll to bottom as new stream of response text arrives. Okay, this is the MessageRow type. Now we need to update this MessageRow to use this. So basically in here, below the let send image, declare a let send, give it a type of MessageRow type, and for this let send text, change this to computed, and basically we can simply return send MessageRow type the text computed property. Next one is this below this response image, declare var response. This is optional, right? MessageRow type optional, and then for the response text, this will be computed as well. We can simply use the response attributed MessageRow type dot text. Okay, so this is the change that we have added for the MessageRow. So this should support rendering the attributed string as well as the raw text. Now we need to update the MessageRow view. Let me close the preview. There will be some error in here. Let's fix those errors. Okay, so inside this MessageRow view, as we have changed the interface of MessageRow, we need to also update these stubs. But first, in this above at the top of the file, let's add conditional macro. If the OS is iOS, we're going to import Markdown. Okay, remember that we only add Markdown SPM to the iOS target. Okay, and then if. So only for iOS target, we are going to import Markdown. This will avoid any compilation error. And next, we have to also create a new stub for the parser result in here. So first, I'm going to declare inside this preview, I'm going to scroll to the bottom and then declare static for raw string. Okay, I'm going to provide a conditional macro in here, if the OS is iOS, and for the other. Okay, for the other, we can simply copy from here this one. Okay, let's copy this, cut, and then paste. Remember to put this in the quotation string literal, and then I'm going to copy and paste markdown string. Okay, I have copied the markdown string. Let me fix the indentation a bit in here. Select this. Okay, and then holding command and then the opening bracket will fix the indentation. Okay, we have the raw string, markdown raw string for the iOS target, because for the iOS we are going to use the markdown attributed parser, right? That's why we have this conditional compilation. So as you remember before, if you want to copy this, you can open this from the GitHub and then open the raw file and then copy the markdown in here. Okay, now I'm going to update the actually we have another static var in here. Give it a name of response message row type, right? Remember we have changed the type to row type. So this is the response message row type. That's the one that we're going to start with the markdown syntax. So here, if the OS is iOS, and then else again. In case of else, we're going to just return message row type with the type of raw text, passing the raw string. In case it is iOS, let's initialize a document, markdown document parsing, and then get the raw string, pass the raw string to the initializer, and then declare parser for parser, markdown attributed string parser, and then let results, then invoke parser.parser results from the document. Okay, this will give us the array of parser result, and then basically we can use message row type dot attributed. Okay, and then we can initialize the attributed output. Let's pass the original string, raw string, and the results array. Okay, we have the stubs. Now let's update these stubs for the message and message 2. First, for the Syntaxt, now the syntax is computed. We need to pass the send one, which is attributed. Let's just pass this. What is SwiftUI? And response text is also computed now, so we can use response, and then we can use this new stub response message row type. Okay, looks good. Now let's do the same for message 2. Send. For the response, for the message 2, we are going to show an error. So in this case, we're just going to pass raw text of empty. Okay, let's add a separator in here. Okay, this one also I miss. Okay, we fixed this compilation error in the message row view. Now we have to go to the view model. So in the view model also, we initialize this message row, right? So let's, for now, let's change this to send, passing the raw text case, and pass the text. Okay. For the response text, it's going to be raw text for now, and then just string text in here. Change this response text to response. Remember, response text is now computed. Add this comma in here. Okay, build, looks good. This also, let's change this to response, and let's assign a raw text. Build again. Okay, we fixed all the compilation issue. Now let's go back to the message row view and let's show the preview. Okay, canvas, refresh. Okay, it is still rendered the way it is before. As you can see, it hasn't used the markdown syntax properly, because we have to handle that inside this message row view body. Okay, so the first thing, inside this message row view, I'm going to declare a new func. Let's put it here below this conditional compilation of if OS tvOS. So let's declare a func attributed view, and the parameter is a results with the type of parser result array, and return type is an opaque view, some view. Okay, so basically here let's declare a vstack, and then set the alignment as leading, and I also want to set the spacing to 0 explicitly. And in here I'm going to declare a for each. I'm going to pass the results array, parse results array, and then in the view clause provider, give the name of the parameter as parsed in. Okay, so here I'm going to check if the parsed is CodeBlock, right? I'm going to render it in the CodeBlock view that we have created. Let's pass in the parsed. Else I'm going to just use the SwiftUI text, and I'm going to pass the parse.attributed string. So basically this SwiftUI text also accepts Swift attributed string and it's able to render properly using the attributed values that we have created. And also I want to set the text selection to enabled, so people can hold the text and show the context menu to copy or share. Okay, we have created this help preview. Now we need to scroll to the top. Now, as you can see here, we have this. Let me resize this a bit. Okay. So currently we have this message row. It's passing the raw string right in here. So we need to update this. So let's update this to pass the. Just give the parameter name to row type and change the type to message row type. And simply in the body, the root body, we need to update this also, row type. And here we can pass message.send. Okay. Next one is if let. Let's change this to response, and then change this to message.response instead of response text, and then change this to row type and pass the response. Okay, we handled this, and now we have another method, MessageRow content. This also use raw string. Let's change this to row type. Enum. Okay, MessageRow type, and make sure we update this to pass the row type. Passing row type. This one as well. Row type. Okay, let's try to build. Now the error should be in the method. Okay, we need to update this. Okay, so basically here just declare a switch. Okay, if switch row type. Okay, so there are two cases, right? We have attributed with the attributed output associated value and the raw text with the raw string. So this is the previous code, right? This is using the raw string. Let's just cut this, right? And for the raw text case, that's just the previous code, which uses the raw string. And for the attributed, we can simply use the method that we created, attributed view, passing the array of attributed output dot results, right? Remember, this attributed output has the results property. Let's build. Okay, let's change this to text, the associated value name. Okay, the build succeeded. Now what we can do, let's clean these lines, extra spaces. Okay, now let's refresh the preview. Nice. Now as you can see, it renders the markdown properly, right? This is the list, this is the header, and this is also the code block, right? But we actually want to make some adjustment. I think there's something looks off here in the padding, right? There's something looks off in the padding. We have to match padding in here, and then here between this bottom of this code block, there's no padding with between this and the header. So first one, let's handle the bottom one. Let's add the padding bottom of 24. Let's see. Okay, nice. We have this extra padding. But actually, to reuse the padding in here, we cannot do it inside here. We have to do it in the Markdown attributed parser. Okay. And also, I think in the preview, there's an extra padding between this, which you can see. Let's try to fix that as well now. So I don't think we need the frame. Let's just remove the frame in the preview. Okay, now this looks good. Okay, now let's fix this. Extra spacing in here. So basically, if you see at this Markdown attributed string parser, so in the original implementation, right, there will be an extra appending of the line, whether it's going to be the new line or a single line, right, based on the type of the visit, right? So basically, it's using the best font size to add the new line, if you can see here, and I think that is too big. So this is the method, right? We just add this new line or double new line, right? So what I want to do is I want to declare new line font size in here. Set this to CG float and then just provide a value of 12, right? And basically we need to find all the code that append a new line for it to the visitor. Okay, first one is this. Let's change this to new line font size. This one again, this one change. Next one inside the code block as well, this one as well. Visit another list. Let's use new line font size. Visit list item. Okay, new line font size. This one, visit ordered list. Single line, double line, new line font size. This one, visit block quote. Okay, I think we have updated every new line appending to use the new line font size space constant. Okay, now let's go back to the markdown row view. Yeah, I think this spacing now looks a bit better compared to the previous one. There's a huge spacing previously, right? Okay, this looks good. It's rendering. Okay, next one, I think this inline code, right? It's hard to read it, right? It's using a gray color. Let's update that. This async drawing stream. That is an inline code, right? So let's find this. Okay, this is visit inline code, right? So it's using a system gray for the foreground color. Let's change this to system pink. Okay, go back. Let's see. Yeah, this looks good, right? The inline code now is using the system pink as the foreground color. Nice, nice, nice. This looks good now. We have successfully rendered the attributed string, markdown syntax, highlighting inside this MessageRow view. And it is also support rendering standard raw text. Okay, it's not changing the behavior actually. It's extending the functionality. Okay, now we have implemented this. Before we move to the next task, let's change the target to, let's say, XCAChatGPT TV, and let's try to build to make sure there are no completions error. Okay, so as you can see here, this MessageRow view, this CodeBlock view right in here, this will be failed to build for all the Mac, tvOS, and the watchOS targets, because this CodeBlock view is currently being only used for the OS target, right? So let's just add a if OS macro. If OS is iOS, we're going to use that. Else, we're going to just use this text passing the parse.attributed string. Okay, let's try to build again. And remember that text selection modifier is not available on the tvOS. Okay, so as simple as adding additional macro again. If not the OS is tvOS, if it is not tvOS, then we're going to enable the text selection. Okay, this as well in here. Okay, let's try to build. Okay, the build succeeded. Nice. Let's make sure for other Mac as well. Okay, Mac build succeeded, and finally the watch target. Okay, so actually text selection is also not unavailable. It's unavailable in the watch OS, right? If not OS, tvOS, and we can add N in here, not OS, watch OS. Or let me just replace this, right? If the OS is iOS and the OS is Mac OS, so only for these two targets, we're going to enable the text selection. Okay, that is easier to read and to reason than using that negation. Okay, watch OS built now. is successful as well. Nice, nice. So we don't broke anything, right? All the other targets still builds, but we doesn't have capability to render the markdown export now. Okay, let's change the target back to the iOS target. Nice, let's continue. Okay, now we are at the final part. We have implemented the parser, we have implemented the MessageRow view to use the attributed text. Now we have to update the view model. So basically, when we send this message to the ChatGPT API and waiting for the chunk of response in this for try wait, currently we just display the raw text, right? But basically what we want to do now is to have the capability to also parse the markdown string to the attributed text with syntax highlighting, right? So one thing that I don't want to do, I don't want to basically perform the parsing every time stream of text arrives. So I will do some kind of batching, okay, using basically for every 64 characters I will perform the parsing asynchronously, right? So that's the idea that I want to do. So that 64 is just my number. You can change it with anything you want. But my biggest by recommendation, you should not basically perform the parse every time the new stream text arrives. Now, to help us implement this, let's create a new Swift file. Okay, give it a name of response parsing task. Okay, so for this, make sure only XCAChatGPT target is selected. That's the iOS target. Okay, and in here we're going to import markdown, and we are going to use actor for this to make sure the method is running serially and is isolated. Okay, so I'm going to declare a response parsing task, and then here I'm going to declare a func parse with the parameter of text with the type of string, and I'm going to make this async and return the attributed output. Okay, so this will be run on the thread other than the UI thread. It will run on the background thread. Okay, when we use this actor, and it makes sure all of this method get executed serially. Okay, so that's one of the power of the actor. We won't have shared state, we just return the output in here. Okay, so as simple as just declaring let document, initialize the document using the parsing the original text, and declare a markdown parser, markdown attribute string parser, and then let results. We can simply use the markdown parser results from document, and we can return the attributed output, initialize it with the original string, passing the text, and then the results array. Okay, now we have this response parsing task. This should be results. Okay, the build succeeded. Now we have the response parsing task. Now let's go back to the view model, right? As you can see, we need to have conditional compilation. So we won't change this syntax because the watchOS, tvOS, macOS target still depends on this, right? I don't want to break compatibility. So basically I'm going to add another macro in here. If OS is iOS, I'm going to declare another private func, but I'm going to just give it send attributed. So in the next video, right, we are basically will refactor everything and just remove most of this macro. Okay, because we are going to also add the attributed string rendering to the macOS, watchOS, and tvOS. But for now, we are going to support iOS only. So, to make this video shorter and simpler. Okay. And basically here, every time we want to send inside the retrieve, for example, let's add the if OS is iOS and else, and if. So in the else, let's use the previous one. And iOS, let's use the new one, send attribute, passing the message the syntax. Let's copy this. I think there's another this send tab also. Need to change this to use macro. Let's switch the indentation. In this case, let's pass text. Okay, build. Okay, build succeeded. Now we can focus on the send attributed implementation. Okay, so mostly I will just copy and paste this as the template, but we will make some adjustment. Okay, let's remove these two extra lines. The first adjustment is below this is interacting with ChatGPT. So here I'm going to declare a let parsing task. I'm going to initialize response parsing task, and then I'm going to declare attributed send, right? So we also want to convert the send text to the attributed output. So in this case, we can simply invoke await. Okay, this will suspend the current main thread. So I forgot, I need to add main actor as well in here. This will suspend the main thread, and then it will go kicking the task in the actor other thread, different thread other than the main thread. Parsing task that parsing the text. Okay, remember that this parsing task is an actor, right? Okay, so after it receives the attributed send, we now need to update this send, right? So instead of sending raw text, we need to send attributed and passing the attributed send. And for the response, for now, we can simply update it to just remove that. Okay, because the response will be nil initially. Okay, that's the implementation for the MessageRow. Now let's move before this do. Okay, before this do, let's add several properties. The first one is the parser threshold text count. Okay, let's set it to 64. So this will be used as the threshold before we start the async parsing task. Okay, and then we're going to declare a var current text count. Let's set it as a 0. Basically, it is used to track the number of characters streamed. It will get reset to 0 every time it exceeds the parser threshold count and we start a new parsing task. And next one is current output. The type is attributed output optional. So it is used to store the result from the parsing task. It will be also used to display the response, okay, as the data is streamed. Okay, we have these three properties now, local properties. Now let's move to the for try await inside this for try await. So first, let's remove this line MessageRow the response .raw text. Okay, and below the string text appending of the text, I'm going to add this current text count plus the new chunk of text count. Okay, it will append that as well, increment. I'm going to check if the current text count is greater than equal parser threshold text count, okay, or the text contains this triple tick, right? This indicates a code block, right? So only in these two situations, if this current text count that we are tracking is greater than equal to 64, or the text that are currently we receive in the stream contains this triple tick. Only in that case, I want to start a new parsing task. Okay, so current output, we need to invoke await parsing task dot parse and then pass the stream text. Okay, remember stream text, not the text. Okay, stream text is the complete stream, complete text. Okay, and let's reset the current text count to 0. Okay, so for every 64 characters, we are going to parse the whole string again. Okay, Maybe we can improve the performance, but for now this works. Okay, I know this can be improved in terms of performance, but at least I don't see any performance bottleneck with the current payload that we receive from the ChatGPT. Okay, and next one is we need to declare if the current output exists, right? We unwrap this, and the current output that results parser result array is not empty. Then we're going to go to this if else. Okay, so this is the first time the current output for sure will be nil, right? In this case, we're going to basically set the message row dot response to attributed, and then initialize the attributed output passing stream text. And for the results, we need to initialize an array with a single element, which is the parser result attributed string. For the attributed string, just initialize the attributed string using the string literal and pass the stream text. CodeBlock will be false initially, and CodeBlock language will be nil. Okay, so I think this will be invoked initially, right? This else block. So we can simply use the stream text, just show the attributed string which hasn't been formatted. Okay, and as the count is exceeding 64 or encounters this triple tick, it will trigger the parsing task, parsing to markdown attributed text. Okay, making this current output not becoming nil. Okay, and inside this iflet, let's declare a suffix text. So the suffix text will be the text that hasn't been parsed, right? So to get that, we can use the stream text and then invoke trimming prefix. So basically, the streaming prefix will return a new collection of same type by removing prefix from the start, and we will pass the output result current output dot string. Okay, this current output dot string, that means we already parsed that, right? So we won't display it. Okay, we only want to display the remaining one that we haven't parsed. Okay, and then let's declare var results, get it from the current output or results. This is the parser result array, and let's get the last result using results and results.count -1, and let's get the last attribute string, var last attribute string, from the last attribute result that attributed string, and then in here let's check whether the last result is a code block, right? So in case if it is code block, we're going to append this last attributed string with attributed string. Okay, in this case we're going to pass a string suffix text. Remember that suffix text is a string dot subsequence, so we need to convert it to string, and basically we need to pass the attributes as well in here. For the attributes, let's initialize a dictionary. So the remaining suffix text will be rendered in a font of UI font system, font of size 12. Okay, and then we are going to apply a new thread of mono space, and the next property will be the foreground color. We're going to render it in white. Okay, that's it. So if the last result is code block, we're going to make this suffix text to be rendered with the mono space. Okay, else we're just going to append the attributed string by passing this suffix text. Okay, we'll succeed it. I think there's no issue. And continuing on, let's set the results last element with the parser result. Okay, and then in this attribute string, let's pass the last attribute string, and in code block, let's pass the rest result is code block, and as well the code block language. Okay, and let's set the message row dot response with the attributed case, passing string, which is stream text, and the results, which is the results. Okay, and basically it will basically be assigned to the last element in the array. Okay, triggering the update as new message arrives. Okay, we have implemented this. Now there's one more thing, right? In the catch block, basically we have to handle, in case it's trigger an error, we have to set the message row dot response with raw text, and then just pass the stream text. Okay, and after the catch, right, after this do try catch, right, after everything has been done without any issue, and we can check if the current string, right, which we get from the current output dot string, if that exists, we're going to check if the current string is not equal with the complete string. It means there are some string that we haven't parsed. In this case, let's just invoke await parsing task dot parse, parsing the string text. Okay, the stream text in this particular run will be the complete stream text. Okay, because this for async sequence for loop has been completed, and basically we can simply assign the message row dot response with the attributed output. Okay, I think that's all. Let's try to build. Now I think we can test this. I know this code is a bit complex, but please try to understand it. Okay, you can try to repeat the video, and maybe you can try yourself and try to understand this. And if you can improve, please comment in the comment section below as well. Okay, now let's try this. Before we can try, make sure you go to the XCAChatGPT app and provide the API key, ChatGPT API key, which you can get from the OpenAI website. Okay, now let me run this in the simulator. Okay, let me bring the simulator here. Okay, we have the simulator. Let me just put this side by side, right? Mirror size this. Now let's ask a question. Show me Dijkstra in Swift. Okay, now let's try to click. Okay, as you can see, nice, it works, right? So it will parse for every 64 characters, right? And then still continuing the stream here, rendering. Nice, that inline code, system ping, is able to render that correctly. Nice, this is awesome, right? So we now able to render markdown syntax with code syntax highlighting as well, right? Let's try another language, right? Let's try another language. Show me Dijkstra in Ruby. Okay, that's also one of my favorite language. Okay, Ruby. This is Ruby. Yeah, it's able to show Ruby syntax highlighting properly, I think. Nice. This looks good. With this, we should be able to ask ChatGPT for code and able to see the results and also copy and paste the code as well. It's a bit long. Nice. As you can see, we are also able to scroll horizontally, right? As you can see in here. Now let's try to copy this, right? Copy it. Let's try to comment in here and see, right? Multi-line comment v. Nice. It copied the Dijkstra code in Ruby successfully. Nice. This is awesome, right? Yeah, I think this is the end of this video tutorial where we have successfully added markdown rendering and code syntax highlighting to almost about 185 language support. Right? This is very nice, and congratulations if you have completed this and understand the implementation, or if you can improve the implementation as well. Please comment in the comment section below, right? And that's it. and you can check the GitHub repository for the completed project. I have provided all the links to the repository at the description below. Okay, and yeah, please like the video if you like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and thanks for supporting me, and let's keep on being a lifelong learner and keep on growing. Okay, so until the next video, goodbye.